Hey everybody, I remembered to pause this time and not have my mouth open when the camera started, so I didn't have a weird frame to start. Anyway, hope everybody's week is going well. The first model I looked at, the authors self-describe as the most popular, the Dick Carey. It is very much similar to what we've been doing this whole time, and starting with the idea of a needs assessment, looking at measurable goals, working through an instructional analysis, analyzing learners and context, then writing performance objectives, developing assessments, developing instructional strategies, selecting materials, design, and conduct evaluation, and then revise innovation and start the model over again. The other model I looked at is on page 19, and I don't know how to say it. It's a 1980 approach, Gerlach and Eli. So Gerlach and Ely. So I'd rather go more Scottish than anything else with Gerlach, and so that's how I'd like to say it, and I'm going to say it like that. Anyway, this one was a little bit different than the Dick and Carey method, simply because it's more of it seems like you would use this method if it was 11 o'clock and your assignment was due at midnight, and you just wanted to get it all done, because the authors describe it as everything's happening at the same time, simultaneously. So you identify the context and you develop objectives all together. Then you hop right into entry behaviors of learners. You determine the strategy, organize the groups, you allocate time, you allocate space, you select resources, you evaluate it, and then you analyze it for feedback. And again, I think one of the major differences is the Dick and Carey method is very linear, very structured. The Gerlach and Eli is a hodgepodge, and you kind of look at it when you're done. Or at least that's the thoughts and feelings I get from it. Similarities, though, they do both start with, or like one or two steps in, it's measurable goals, developing objectives. And they both are interested in analyzing the learners. So that's really early on. And at the end, both want to evaluate and revise based on feedback, which is, as if you know communication, you want that feedback loop. So that was kind of the similarities and differences for those two ID models. When I looked at a historic model, I looked at Creating Minimalist Instruction by John Caroll. And he wrote a 2014 article about his 1980 field research. He was working for IBM and looked at the strengths of learners and bolstered those strengths. So he wasn't interested in everything around it. It was identifying people do well with self-instruction, so I'm going to help them with self-instruction. These people are self-starters, so I'm going to design things around self-starters. It was a really interesting design model that's similar to Dick and Carey's, his process through it. And what I love about this article is the guy talks a lot in depth about the failures that he observed as the trials went on. So he talked about a system called Display Writer, and one woman in particular who, when she engaged the system, became so frustrated she grabbed her purse and walked out. And I enjoy that because that is not necessarily my experience, but certainly the experience of students. It's not working, I'm out, and they leave. So that was really interesting to me. It's not a new behavior. And the other one was he helped develop note cards that would be interactive in a system. So as an error was committed, or before errors were committed, you'd follow the steps. And he talks about on top of every note card to start, it would say, don't start until you've read all the note cards. And the author writes ad nauseum that everyone would start, regardless if it said read all the note cards. And that was funny to me because that's how learners are now. That's how I am. I'm not going to read all the instructions. I'm going to get going on it. And then talked more about a design model that we see a lot nowadays in that immediate feedback loop, so that when learners in this model with IBM weren't allowed to input errors, the system would tell them it was an error before they inputted it. That was the training model, which makes a lot of sense to me because I would imagine older designs would let you mess them up real hard, and then you'd have a mess on your hands, where his ID model was more like, let's give feedback to the learner before it's messed up, so that when they get in the real system, they'll remember, I can't do that or else I'll mess up the system. For my own context in learning and analyzing Canvas here at the high school with 1,700 kids, clearly the Dick Carey method I think is the strong place to go, very linear, and it's what we've been learning in class, I believe. So the only other thing I wanted to leave you with is I see the Dick and Carey model in lots of stuff. I have a book, Focused Instruction, an innovative teaching model for all learners, developed from Solution Tree in, I had a date on here. I wanted to say it was 2010. Anyway, Solution Tree, 2008. But it talks specifically about maybe some comparisons between direct instruction and then indirect instruction and focused instruction, which is the topic of the book, Focus. And it just is very linear. The idea that you're going to analyze the standard, you're going to develop some strategies, you're going to engage those strategies, you're going to look at how the learners are, check for understanding, how they're learning, then you're going to give some feedback, then you're going to reevaluate and start the whole process over again. So again, Dick and Carey model, direct or a focused instruction here and now. Thank you for your time. Hope you're all having a good week. We're supposed to get a ton of snow here in Casper tomorrow, so our district sent out protocols about who's an essential employee, and despite my status as an administrator, I'm not essential. So I'm looking forward to a ton of snow so I can stay home. I hope everybody's doing well. Take care.